Hey everyone. Welcome back to Bella Dark Tales. Before we get started, I want you to do something for me. Turn off the lights. Put your headphones on. And if you're driving right now, maybe pull over. Because tonight, I have 3 stories for you. 3 real accounts, submitted by real people, about something that most of us do without thinking twice. Driving at night. It seems so simple, right? You get in your car, you turn the key, you drive. But the road at night is a completely different world. The darkness stretches out in front of you. Your headlights only show you so much. And beyond that light, anything could be waiting. These 3 people found that out the hard way. So buckle up. This is going to be a long ride. This story comes from a man named Daniel. He's 34 years old, lives in rural Pennsylvania, and says he has never told this story to anyone outside of his closest family members. He sent it to us a few months ago with one request, that we share it, because he says he still needs people to believe him. I believe him. Here's what happened. It was a Tuesday night in late October. Not Halloween, just a random Tuesday. Daniel had been working a double shift at the warehouse where he was a floor supervisor. 12 hours on his feet, moving crates, doing inventory, dealing with a broken conveyor belt that had already put them 2 hours behind schedule. By the time he clocked out and walked to his truck, it was 11:47 p.m. He remembers the time exactly. He looked at his phone when he got in, thinking about texting his wife, Lisa. But she went to bed early on work nights, and he didn't want to wake her. So he just plugged in his charger, tossed his phone in the cup holder, and started the drive home. Now, Daniel's commute on a normal day, during daylight, with traffic, takes about 35 minutes. But late at night, when the roads are empty, he could usually do it in around 23 minutes. His route took him through a stretch of back road called Route 9. If you're from that part of Pennsylvania, you know it. Long, winding, heavily forested on both sides. No street lights. No houses for long stretches. Just the trees and the road and whatever your headlights could reach. Most people from the area avoided Route 9 at night when they could help it. Not because of anything they could specifically point to. Just one of those roads that had a feeling to it. A reputation. Old-timers called it the Hollow Road, because of the way sound behaved out there. Sometimes you'd hear things that had no explanation. Wind that sounded like voices. Animals that were too close. Daniel wasn't the superstitious type. He'd driven Route 9 at night dozens of times. It was the fastest way home. And after a 12-hour shift, fast was all he cared about. So he turned on to Route 9 at around midnight, and the world immediately got darker. The trees closed in on both sides. His headlights swept across the road in front of him, 2 pale cones cutting through absolute blackness. No moon that night. Heavy cloud cover. The kind of dark that feels thick, like something you could reach out and touch. He had the radio on low. Some late-night talk show. The host was interviewing a chef about regional American food, and even though Daniel didn't care about that at all, the sound of human voices was comforting out there on that empty road. He was about 7 minutes into Route 9 when he saw it. At first, he thought it was a deer. You know how it is on back roads at night. Your brain immediately jumps to deer when it sees something at the edge of your headlights. Some vague shape at the side of the road, and your foot automatically moves toward the brake. But as he got closer, the shape resolved into something that was very clearly not a deer. It was a person. A woman, standing at the edge of the road, facing his direction. She was wearing a light-colored dress. He thought maybe white, maybe very pale yellow. And she had one arm slightly raised. The way you raise your arm when you're trying to flag someone down. Daniel slowed the truck. His first reaction was concern, not fear. A woman alone on Route 9 at midnight in a dress. Something was clearly wrong. Maybe her car broke down. Maybe she'd been in an accident. Maybe she was hurt. He pulled over about 20 feet past her and rolled down the passenger window. In his rearview mirror, he watched her walk toward the truck. She moved slowly. Her head was down, and her hair, long dark, was hanging loose around her face so he couldn't see her expression. She came around to the passenger side and stopped at the window. "You okay?" Daniel asked. "Do you need help?" She didn't answer right away. She just stood there, looking down at the door. And Daniel noticed, in the glow of the interior light, that her dress was dry. Not damp, not muddy. Completely clean and dry, even though it had been raining earlier that evening and the road shoulder was wet. "Miss?" he said again. "Are you okay? Did your car break down?" She finally looked up. And Daniel said, and this is the part he kept coming back to in his message, he said her face looked wrong. Not in a way he could easily describe. Her features were normal. She was a young woman, maybe mid-20s. But the expression she wore didn't match anything. Not fear, not relief, not sadness. Just nothing. A completely blank face looking in at him through the window. "Can you take me to the end of the road?" she asked. Her voice, he said, was very quiet. Very flat. The way someone sounds when they're reading a line out loud rather than actually saying it. Every instinct Daniel had went off at once. He described it as a sudden, cold, full-body feeling, like being dunked in ice water. His hands tightened on the steering wheel. The part of his brain that handles danger was screaming at him, even though he couldn't point to one specific, logical reason why. But he also didn't want to drive away and leave a woman alone on a dark road at midnight. So he made a compromise with himself. "I can call someone for you," he said. "Do you need me to call the police? Or 911? She shook her head slowly. "I just need to get to the end of the road," she said again. Exactly the same sentence. Exactly the same flat tone. "Where's your car?" Daniel asked. She didn't answer that. She put her hand on the door handle. And that was it. That was the moment Daniel's foot found the gas pedal. He pulled away fast. Too fast, probably. His tires kicked up gravel from the shoulder, and he fishtailed slightly before catching the road. His heart was hammering so hard he could feel it in his throat. He told himself he was being irrational. That he'd just driven away from a woman who needed help. But his foot would not lift off that gas. He kept his eyes forward and drove. The radio was still on. The chef was still talking about barbecue sauces. After maybe 2 minutes, Daniel's curiosity, or maybe his guilt, made him look in his rearview mirror. She was there. Not walking on the road. Not a distant figure getting smaller as he drove away. She was directly behind his truck. Maybe 6 feet behind his bumper. Keeping pace with him exactly. Her hair still hanging in front of her face. Her arms at her sides. Daniel was doing 55 miles per hour. He said he made a sound he'd never made before in his life. Some kind of strangled noise between a scream and a gasp. His hands clenched the wheels so hard his knuckles went white. He pushed the accelerator to the floor. He watched the speedometer climb. 60, 65, 70. He looked in the mirror. She was still there. Still 6 feet behind the bumper. Still keeping exact pace. Like she was attached to the truck by an invisible rope. Daniel said that what broke him, what turned his fear into something beyond fear, was that she was not running. Her legs were not moving fast. She was walking. A slow, calm, normal walking pace. At 70 miles per hour. He kept driving. He did not look in the mirror again. He gripped the steering wheel and stared at the road ahead of him and drove as fast as that truck would go. The trees blurred past on both sides. The radio voices became meaningless noise. Route 9 ends at a T-junction where it meets a county road that leads back toward town. There's a gas station there, a 24-hour place with lights and a parking lot. Daniel hit that junction and turned so hard the truck almost went up on two wheels. He pulled into the gas station lot and stopped the truck and sat there shaking for what he thinks was about 10 minutes. He eventually got out and looked at the back of his truck. Nothing there. He drove home. Went inside quietly so he wouldn't wake Lisa. Sat at the kitchen table for another half hour before he could make himself go upstairs. The next morning, he looked up Route 9 online. He found a local history forum. And in a thread about folklore and ghost stories from the area, he found a post from about 8 years earlier. Someone describing a woman in a pale dress who appears on Route 9 at night and asks drivers to take her to the end of the road. The post said that the accounts went back decades. That some drivers refused, like Daniel did. And that a few, over the years, had agreed. None of the people who agreed to take her were mentioned again in the forum. The thread ended there. Daniel said he drives a different route home now. Always. He also said that sometimes, on nights when he can't sleep, which is most nights, now, he lies there in the dark wondering what would have happened if he'd unlocked that door. He doesn't wonder for long. Because some questions, he says, are worse than the answers. The second story tonight comes from a woman named Priya. She's 29, works in healthcare administration, and she says she's a very logical, grounded person. She doesn't watch horror movies. She doesn't read scary stories. She sent us this account because, in her words, I need someone rational to tell me I'm not crazy. Because what I saw does not make sense. Priya, I don't think you're crazy. Here's what happened to her. Last year, Priya was driving back from a work conference in a city about 3 hours from where she lives. The conference had run long. There was a keynote speaker who went way over his allotted time, then a networking dinner that she felt obligated to stay at. By the time she got to her car in the hotel parking garage, it was 12:30 a.m. She had the choice to stay the night. Her company was covering hotels for conference attendees, but she'd already told her roommate she'd be home, and more importantly, she had an early appointment the next morning that she couldn't miss. So she decided to drive. 3 hours. Mostly highway. She'd done longer drives than that, and she had a full coffee from the hotel lobby and a podcast she'd been wanting to listen to for weeks. She figured she'd be fine. For the first hour and a half, she was. The highway was nearly empty at that hour. A few trucks, widely spaced. The occasional car. She set her cruise control, pulled up her podcast, a true crime one, which in hindsight she found darkly ironic, and settled in. She was in the middle lane, making good time. She noticed the car for the first time around the 90-minute mark. A dark sedan. She couldn't tell the make or color precisely because it was night, but she thought it might have been dark blue or black. It came up behind her and settled into the left lane, pacing her almost exactly. She didn't think much of it at first. Cars pace each other on the highway all the time. But after a few minutes she started to notice that the car wasn't passing her. It wasn't dropping back either. It just stayed there. Exact same speed. Left lane. Right at the edge of her peripheral vision. She slowed down slightly, thinking the car would pass her. It slowed down too. She sped up. It sped up. She told herself it was probably just a driver on autopilot, cruise control set to a similar speed, not even aware they were pacing her. Logical explanation. She turned her attention back to the podcast. But she kept glancing left. She couldn't help it. Every time she looked, the car was there. Exact same distance. Like they were magnetically tethered. After about 20 minutes of this, she started to feel genuinely unsettled. She moved to the right lane, thinking that would create more distance. The sedan moved to the middle lane, maintaining the same relative position to her. Now she was paying full attention to it. She tried to see the driver. In the dark, with the angle and the speed, it was nearly impossible to make out details. She could see the silhouette of someone in the driver's seat. Just one person, as far as she could tell. They appeared to be looking straight ahead. She picked up her phone and called her roommate. She knew it was late. She knew her roommate was probably asleep. But she needed to hear another voice, and she needed someone to know what was happening. Her roommate picked up on the fourth ring, groggy and confused. "Hey, I'm sorry," Priya said. "I'm still on the highway and there's this car that's been pacing me for like 20 minutes and I'm a little freaked out." Her roommate, still half asleep, told her to call the police if she felt unsafe, and to just get home quickly. Not exactly comforting, but at least she was on the line. Priya kept driving. And then she saw the sign for exit 44. Now, this is important. Priya knew this highway well. She had driven it many times. Exit 44 was not her exit. Her exit was 51. She had never taken 44, had no reason to, knew nothing about it except that it existed. It was just a number she'd driven past before. But as her headlights swept across the green highway sign for exit 44, the dark sedan suddenly accelerated and cut across 2 lanes directly in front of her. Priya hit her brakes hard, her heart lurching. Her roommate heard the screech of tires and started asking what happened. He cut me off," Priya said. "He went for the exit." But the sedan didn't take the exit. It took the exit ramp, and then it stopped. Right there on the ramp. Just stopped. No hazard lights. No apparent reason. Just a car sitting still on an off-ramp in the middle of the night. Priya passed it and kept going, her hands shaking slightly. Her roommate was still on the line, fully awake now, asking questions. "I think he's just sitting there," Priya said, watching the ramp in her rearview mirror. "He went for the exit and then just stopped." "That's so weird," her roommate said. Priya agreed it was weird, and she drove on, telling herself it was over. Whoever that was, whatever they wanted, they'd taken their exit and she was fine. She drove in silence for a while, too tense to focus on the podcast. And then the dark sedan was back. She almost didn't believe it. She thought it was a different car, a similar one. But something about the way it positioned itself, same lane, same distance, settling in like it was picking up exactly where it had left off, made her stomach drop. "He's back," she told her roommate. "What do you mean he's back?" "The car. He's back. He's right there next to me again." Her roommate told her to call 911. Priya did, keeping her roommate on hold. The dispatcher was calm and professional, took her location, told her not to stop under any circumstances, to stay on the highway and keep driving toward a populated area. A patrol car would be dispatched to her general location. Priya relayed all this to her roommate and kept driving. She watched the sedan. It was still there. Still pacing. And then she noticed something she hadn't been able to see before, because now she was watching more carefully. The driver wasn't looking straight ahead. The driver was turned. Slightly, but unmistakably. The silhouette of their head was angled toward her. Facing her window. They had been watching her this entire time. Priya said she felt a fear at that moment that she doesn't have words for. Not panic, something colder than panic. A deep, primal recognition that something was very wrong and that she was in genuine danger. She did something impulsive. Later, she couldn't fully explain why she did it. Maybe instinct. Maybe desperation. She swerved hard to the right, hit the deceleration lane, and took exit 44. The sedan did not follow. She sat on the ramp, the same ramp where the sedan had stopped earlier, and watched through her rear window. The dark car was on the highway. It had slowed but not stopped. It drove slowly past the exit, and continued on. She sat there for 11 minutes, talking to her roommate, watching the highway. The sedan did not come back. A highway patrol officer found her there and took her statement. They noted her license plate and the description of the sedan but told her honestly that without more information, there wasn't much they could do. Dark sedan, no plate number, no confirmed illegal action. The officer escorted her the rest of the way home. Priya got inside and locked every door and window. She didn't sleep. In the morning, she went online and searched for news from the highway area. She was looking for accidents, anything that might explain the night. She found something. A local news article from 2 days before her drive. A woman had been followed on the same highway, same general stretch. That woman had pulled over when the following car seemed to stop, thinking maybe they were in distress. She was assaulted and her car was stolen. She survived, but just barely. The car used in that incident? A dark-colored sedan. The police were still looking for the driver. Priya sent us a follow-up message a month after her first account. She said, "I've been thinking about exit 44. The car stopped there the first time. Then I chose to stop there when I was scared. I've been trying to figure out why that exit. Why that spot. I looked it up. Exit 44 is a dead end. The ramp leads to a road that used to connect to a rest area that was closed and demolished about 6 years ago. It's just a road that ends in the woods now. No buildings. No houses. Nothing. If the car had gotten me to stop there the first time, there would have been nobody around for miles. She doesn't take the highway at night anymore. And she never, ever stops for a car on the shoulder, no matter what." I want to warn you before this last one. This is the story that, out of everything we've received in the past year, has stayed with me the most. I've read it multiple times. I've thought about it late at night. And every single time, it gets under my skin in a way I can't quite shake. It comes from a man named Marcus. He's 41. Former military, did 2 tours overseas and says that experience calibrated his sense of danger in a way that most people don't have. He doesn't scare easily. He knows what fear feels like and he knows how to manage it. What happened to Marcus on that rest stop outside of Georgia shook him in a way that nothing from his time overseas did. He says that's because in the military, the danger made sense. It followed rules he understood. What he found at that rest stop followed no rules at all. Marcus was doing a long-distance drive. He'd been to visit his mother in Florida. She'd had a minor health scare, nothing serious in the end, but enough to make him drop everything and drive down from his home in Tennessee. He spent 4 days with her, helped her get settled, made sure she was okay. The drive back was about 9 hours. He started early, made good time through Florida and into Georgia, and by the time he started feeling the fatigue, he was about 4 hours from home. He did the math. He could push through. He'd done longer stretches in worse conditions. But the fatigue was the serious kind, the kind where your eyes start to do strange things. where you'll be looking at the road and then suddenly realize that 3 seconds have passed, and you don't remember them. Micro-sleep. He recognized it. He'd been trained to recognize it. So when he saw the brown highway sign for a rest area 2 miles ahead, he made the decision to pull over. It was around 2:15 in the morning. The rest area was one of those mid-sized ones, a main building with restrooms, a few covered picnic tables, a row of parking spaces for regular vehicles and a separate section for trucks. When Marcus pulled in, there were 2 semi-trucks idling in the truck section, their running lights glowing orange in the dark. In the regular parking area, there were 3 other cars. A minivan with a family who appeared to be asleep inside. A sedan with someone stretched out across the back seat. One other car he couldn't see clearly. He parked, kept his doors locked, tilted his seat back, and set a 45-minute alarm on his phone. He was asleep in under 2 minutes. The alarm woke him right on schedule. 3 a.m. He sat up, rubbed his face, drank some water. He felt meaningfully better, not fully rested, but clear-headed enough to drive. Alert enough to be safe. He decided to use the restroom before getting back on the road. Stretch his legs, splash water on his face, and go. The rest area's main building was maybe 100 feet from where he was parked. Concrete structure, harsh fluorescent lighting that turned everything a greenish-white. The kind of lighting that makes everyone look a little sick. He got out of his car. Locked it. Walked toward the building. The parking lot was very quiet. He could hear the distant rumble of the semi-trucks idling. There was a light wind moving through the trees at the edge of the rest area. Bugs doing whatever bugs do in Georgia at 3 a.m. And he noticed a man. Standing near the edge of the building. Not at the entrance, beside it. Standing in the narrow strip of shadow where the fluorescent light from the parking lot didn't quite reach. Just standing there. Marcus clocked him immediately. Military habit. He assessed, male, tall, average build, dark clothing. Not doing anything. Not on a phone. Not smoking. Not pacing. Just standing. Still as a post. Marcus walked toward the entrance without breaking stride, but every sense he had was on that man now. As Marcus got closer, the man turned to look at him. Full eye contact. Immediate, deliberate. Like he'd been waiting for Marcus to get close enough. Marcus was about 30 feet away now. Under the light. The man in the shadow was looking directly at him with an expression Marcus described as, and these are his exact words in his message, like someone who had practiced smiling but had never actually felt happy. Evening, Marcus said. He didn't know why he said it. He wasn't trying to be friendly. He said it the way you might speak to someone you're not sure is a threat, establishing contact, watching for reaction. The man said nothing. He just kept smiling. Marcus went inside. Used the restroom quickly. Kept it fast. Washed his hands and face, looked at himself in the mirror for a moment, took a breath. When he came back out, the man was no longer at the side of the building. Marcus stopped. Scanned the parking lot. The man was standing at Marcus's car. Not nearby it. Not walking past it. Standing at it. Right at the driver's side door, facing the window. Looking in. Marcus walked straight toward him. Fast, deliberate, closing the distance. "Hey," he said, voice firm. "Can I help you?" The man turned slowly. That same expression. That practiced smile. Up close, in the spill of parking lot light, Marcus saw him clearly for the first time. Average face. Nothing particularly memorable about the features. But the eyes were strange. He said they were too still. Like there was no activity behind them. like looking at the eyes of something that had borrowed a human appearance but hadn't quite mastered the details. "Nice vehicle," the man said. His voice was quiet. A little too even. No regional accent that Marcus could place. "Thanks," Marcus said. "I need you to step back from it." The man didn't step back. He tilted his head slightly. That bird-like, mechanical tilt that Marcus said made his skin crawl in a way he hadn't expected. "Long drive?" the man asked. "Step back from the vehicle," Marcus said again. He wasn't asking this time. The man stepped back. One slow, deliberate step. "I was just looking," he said. Marcus moved to the driver's door, keeping the man in his line of sight. He unlocked the car, hands steady, breathing controlled, everything he'd been trained to do in uncertain situations. Got in. Locked the doors. The man stood exactly where he'd stepped back to and watched Marcus through the window. Marcus started the car. He pulled out of the parking space, watching in his mirror. The man didn't move. Marcus drove toward the exit, watching the man get smaller in his rearview mirror. Just before he reached the exit and turned back onto the highway, he looked in the mirror one last time. The man was gone. Marcus looked around, at the parking lot, the shadows near the building, the truck section. Nothing. He got on the highway and drove. For about 15 minutes, he felt the adrenaline slowly bleeding out of him. Told himself it was just a strange, creepy guy at a rest stop. Nothing had happened. He was fine. And then his phone buzzed. A notification. Not a call, not a text, an alert from his car's built-in security app. He'd set it up years ago, one of those aftermarket systems that logs if anyone touches the vehicle. He glanced at the notification when he was at a safe stretch of road. It said, "Attempted entry, 2:48 a.m. Marcus stared at that. 2:48 a.m. 12 minutes before his alarm went off. 12 minutes before he'd woken up. Someone had tried to get into his car while he was asleep in it. The app would have registered it as a failed attempt because the car was locked. Whatever they tried, a Slim Jim, a key jammer, physically pulling the handle, it hadn't worked. Marcus thought about that. He thought about the man's question, long drive? He thought about how easy it would have been, in a dark parking lot at 3 a.m., for someone to observe which car a solo driver got into. To wait until they fell asleep. To try the doors. He thought about what might have happened if the attempt had worked. He thought about the empty, borrowing eyes. He pulled over at the next exit, which had a well-lit 24-hour gas station, and stayed there under the lights until 5 a.m. when the sky started going gray. Then he drove the rest of the way home without stopping. He filed a report with Georgia State Police. Gave them the time, the location, the description. They were helpful and professional. 3 weeks later, they sent him a follow-up. In the 6 months prior to his stop at that rest area, there had been 4 incidents reported in rest areas along that stretch of highway. 2 vehicles broken into. 1 robbery at the building entrance. And 1 incident where a woman had been followed out of the rest area and onto the highway. She managed to call for help in time. She was okay. But the suspect in all 4 incidents, described as a tall male, dark clothing, average build, had never been caught. Marcus ended his message to us with 2 lines that I keep coming back to. He wrote, "I've been in places where my life was genuinely at risk. I know what danger feels like in my body. That man at the rest stop triggered everything in me that those other situations triggered. Whatever he was planning, and I think we both know what he was planning, the only thing that stopped it was that my doors were locked. Lock your doors, everyone. Wherever you are tonight. Lock your doors." Those were 3 real accounts. 3 real people. 3 moments on dark roads and empty rest stops where something went very, very wrong, or almost did. Daniel never takes Route 9 again. Priya never drives the highway alone at night. And Marcus? Marcus says he doesn't stop at rest areas anymore. Not at night. Not alone. Now I have to ask you, and I genuinely want to know, so leave it in the comments, which one of those 3 stories got under your skin the most? Was it the woman in the pale dress on Route 9, walking alongside a truck doing 70 miles per hour? Was it the dark sedan on the highway that knew exactly which exit would leave Priya stranded in the middle of nowhere? Or was it the man at the rest stop, who tried the door while Marcus was sleeping inside? Leave your answer below. And if you've had your own experience on a dark road at night, something you can't explain, something that still keeps you up, please send it to us. You can reach us at belladarktales@gmail.com. We read every single message. And if your story is right for the channel, we'll make sure the world hears it. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button. We put out new videos every week, and trust me, you do not want to miss what's coming next. Stay safe out there. And remember, the road at night is never as empty as it looks. Good night.